sure this local recording is going too. All right, so it's the Twitch cast time, and Zach is.
We need to start putting the episode numbers on. What did you say? We're on number 16 today?
Episode 16 today, yeah.
I had a comment from somebody that watches them all. You know, it'd be kind of great to have some of the subjects in the title of the videos, especially when we load them on YouTube, because he was trying to filter through and view the ones that he was the most interested in. Topic-wise, I know you put it in the description though, but it's just not as easily searchable. I don't think so.
That's a pretty good idea. I might go back and do that.
Yeah, that was a guy. That was a guy from Panama, and not the United States.
Panama. Is that their national anthem?
We're still going to have to make like a rule that we have to visit all the centers around the world.
I'm game. So Zach, you're broken.
Yes. Yep. You know, and I wish it was like it is a pretty cool thing to say what I did. I mean, I didn't trip, you know, going down the basement stairs to do laundry or something. You know, I'm a pretty big fan of mountain biking, and you know, I travel around a lot of the local parks, and if most of you know me, I'm very, very competitive guy. So I use a cool app called Strava, and Strava, what it does is it's a GPS app that'll track you as you're running or riding your bike, and it also puts you in contests with other people that have done the same route time-wise. And so then you can get medals and achievements for getting King of the Mountain or the fastest time, or you're setting your personal record. So last year, during most of the year, I was the personal record holder for a couple tracks at our new mountain bike course here, and got beaten last fall. Been real busy with work. Obviously, we got all kinds of stuff going on, and so just getting back in the saddle this spring. Last Thursday night, I worked real late Thursday night, so I just said Friday was a beautiful day. I'd get up early Friday morning and hit the track, and they just put a bunch of new obstacles in. It's a brand new park. It's the grand opening's in October. The last 2 years they've been building the trails. It's open to ride, but it's at your own expense. And they put a bunch of new trick ramps and things in some of the courses. So I'm foolishly riding a course trying to set a speed record on that has brand new wooden bridges and curves and obstacles into it. And I'm trying to do those wooden bridges and obstacles as part of my lap time. And came up to one and just, you know, joked in my head a little bit, but there's on this ramp, there's some skid marks where people had hit their brakes going onto the ramp. And I thought, why are people slowing down? And I got to the top of the ramp, and at this point, it's about 6 feet off the ground, and realized that this ramp turned about 30 degrees to the left, and my body was prepared to go straight. So the only chance I thought I had was to do a little bunny hop off the ramp so that I would remain vertical and land on the ground, which at this point was going into a little ravine. And so now, you know, the distance from the ramp down is probably 8 feet, maybe 10 feet. So I went to hop off the bike so that I could just have a graceful, you know, ninja roll crash at the end of it and laugh about it. But as I did that, the front wheel left the track, and ended up, I just hopped off the bike and flew through the air and tried to tuck and roll, and ended up tucking right into my shoulder into the side of the ravine on the other side. So there was no chance of rolling anyway, because basically I'm coming into the ground perpendicular. And jumped right up and, you know, thought to myself, oh gosh, glad nobody was around to see that. That probably looked really stupid. And bent over to pick up my bike and immediately knew something was wrong with my right arm. A lot of pain, and just didn't feel right. Just felt weird. So I reached up with my left hand to feel it. And as I reached up with my left hand to feel it, I could definitely feel that the arm, you know, the old song, the hip bone's connected to the leg bone. The shoulder bone was not connected to the arm bone any longer. So I got a little bit sick to my stomach, you know, and laid down and started taking deep breaths and just thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. The park's not busy. There's not anybody else around. I just had visions in my head of Bruce Willis in Die Hard getting his shoulder dislocated, and he just slams it off of a wall. And I thought, well, I'll just go up to a tree and I'll just slam it off of a tree and pop it back into socket, because it's, in my mind, it's out of socket. You know, like I thought it was just dislocated. But thought against it. You know, my wife makes fun of me for the dumb stuff I do, and I knew I was going to be made fun of for just having the accident. So I didn't want to add to it by doing something else foolish. So I managed to get up and walk my bike with my left hand out of the park. And luckily, 2 college guys were pulling up in their minivan with their bikes. And I said, hey, guys, you know, give me a hand, put my bike in the back of my truck.
Big
And
gulps, huh?
big gulps, huh? And they're like, sure. And I knew they thought it was weird. And I said, yeah, I had a little bit of a spill. And my right arm is hanging limp next to my body. And they both looked at me and looked at my arm. They're like, dude, are you all right? Can we give you a ride to the hospital, or you want us to call somebody? I'm like, I got one good hand. It's fine. I just can't get my bike in the truck. If you just do that for me. So I left my wife a voicemail and drove myself to the hospital. And when you're in the X-ray lab and the two technicians are like whispering and pointing behind the screen as they're looking at the picture, but they won't tell. They're not allowed to tell me what it is. I'm like, so how's it looking? And they're both like, well, yeah, you did something wrong. There's something wrong there. And had to go to a specialist Monday. It ended up being a separated shoulder.
Moving
If
over
anybody,
to the shoulder
anybody
picture.
cares, yeah, if anybody cares, J-Mac's got a picture of it. But
Now, is this one on the left, like the first day, and the one on the right?
nope, it's two different views. One's straight on, and one's like to the side, like this.
Okay.
So one of them you're looking at it this way, one of it you're looking at it this way. So luckily on the specialist, the X-ray technician is friends with a buddy of mine, real good friends, and so he's like, come over here with your cell phone and take a picture. So that's how I got that picture. But if you can see in that picture, the bone sticking up appears to be broken in half. When I saw it, I'm like, oh geez, it's broken. But what that is that bone actually is supposed to line up with the other bone in the picture, perfectly aligned and held together by ligaments that allows you to have the movement of your shoulder, but the ligaments are what holds that all in line, and those are all who knows where. I don't know if they're floating around in there, if I've processed them and pooped them out in the toilet. They're not there anymore. They're not doing what they should be doing in the shoulder any longer. So needless to say, it's called a type 3 separation. And if you Google it, type 1 and type 2 are just rehab. Type 4 and type 5 are immediate surgery. And of course, my type 3 is if this, then that. Could be surgery, it could be rehab. The doctor's like, well, you're 42, so you should probably just let it heal on its own. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, you probably can never do any push-ups again. And I'm thinking, I'm a man. Like, if anybody challenges my manhood at any given time, I bet you can't do 10 push-ups. I need to lay down and do 10 push-ups. So my 15-year-old Xander this week, because I used that example to everybody, and he said, Dad, just learn how to do one-handed push-ups, and then people will think you're really awesome. And so I'm like, well, I never thought about that, Xander, but the cup's half full, little buddy. So
yeah, you're really dumb. But I don't think that any injury that I had would be as cool as an injury that you would have. Like, one time I was by myself in my house and I got about to the third step down. I'm like, I'm just gonna jump the rest of the way, just like an idiot. Like, I jumped up and totally hit my head on the ceiling coming down. Like, if I ever had a concussion in my life, it was probably a point when I had a concussion. Like, how am I gonna be Studley and say, oh yeah, I got a concussion? Just thinking I could jump down the rest of my stairs.
Right. I like the fact that I did it mountain biking, because it's a cool story. It's obviously a cool injury, but at the same time, it's a terrible time of the year for us. At eBash, we're getting ready to renovate our store and rip out walls and put new furniture in. We start our convention season where we pack up 200 Alienware PCs onto trucks, Sony PlayStations, all of this audio video equipment, and we go around the country to different shows. And I'm the leader. I mean, you've been there, J-Mac. Like, when I take a crew with me and when people meet me there to help, and there's 10 or 15 or 20 people there, nobody stops working because I don't stop ever. It's never a question of whether we're going to get it done or not. There's no break times. It's work straight through. Once we get done, then we relax, type of thing. I don't know what I'm going to do, because if I'm not the one doing the work, I'll be there. I just don't know if I can control myself, because I don't want to damage it any further at any of these activities. I mean, just next week, we're going to be taking our racing simulators over to Flat 12 Brewery and setting up the simulators there for a release of a new beer for them, for their IndyCar driver, James Hinchcliffe. And then 2 weeks later, we're at the track for the Angie's List Grand Prix at the Speedway, and then the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. And, those things are right around the corner. So the challenge I was telling you before we got on the air that I've issued my family is, I've never thought, because it's my right arm, it's my dominant arm. So obviously you think about signing things, like using the mouse, like everybody calls me Mr. T-Rex now, because it's, everything is so short and stumpy. But the thing that I found the most challenging is bathroom activities. So, you can take your mind into all the different activities in the bathroom that you do. If you want to be clean, you stay at the sink. If you want to start thinking about more gross things, you think about going over to the toilet. But as a male, going number one or number two, either one, like it's a process that you don't realize how much you use your dominant hand. I feel like my 3-year-old learning to brush her teeth for the first time again, and it's not graceful. And there's toothpaste running down my chin, and I'm not being able to get the angles, and it doesn't make sense. Like, this hand is the same as my other hand, but like, why can't I get underneath the top of my teeth? It doesn't make any sense. So
I think you just invest in a bidet, and that should fix some of those problems.
I mean, just like washing in the shower or putting on deodorant, I can't, like, I'm trying to lower my pit down to where my right hand can actually get it, like I can't get it. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, man is meant to have two hands, and typing at the computer, it's painful, but at least, I can pull the keyboard over and get it done. Who knows? But all right, so we digress. That's our playful banter for the week, explaining why I'm in a sling. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in a sling for a few more weeks, at least. Janine's like, you never follow the doctor's orders. I'm sure you're just going to wear it for a week. And I've been taking it off a little more. I'm not supposed to take it off even sleeping, but it just gets hot, like my arm gets hot. And so, I mean, don't shake your head at me. It's not a medical thing.
Because you need to follow your doctor's orders, and we need to get to business.
But why can't I? All right, fine. All right, here we go. So let's talk about New Center questions of the week. I told you this has been a busy week. It's, things are picking up. Things are really getting exciting. We have a lot of cool stuff to talk about on the show today from ggCircuit's perspective. But just New Center question of the week / even those existing centers out there will be able to agree and kind of relate to this. But I've had 5 calls in the last week for people that are going to hire me to do consulting. It's one of the things that I do. I get a lot of questions like, spend all your time, email me back the answer to these 47 questions about starting a LAN center. And I'm just as nice as I can, but I always say, hey, I've been doing it 11 years, almost 12 years. I know a lot of stuff, but to know if you're serious or not, so that I don't spend a lot of time with you, go through my blog, watch my videos. And if you want to, for $100, I'll spend 3 hours answering any question you want. But that $100 has nothing to do with what my time's worth. I'm worth a lot more than that. I'm super busy all the time, but I don't mind. I love doing this. And a lot of times in a 3-hour consulting call, I'll talk about things that I'm excited about that help myself. So I just can separate out those that are serious or not with that $100. If you're just some high school kid that's not graduated yet, that's doing, like thinking about what you want to be when you grow up. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't spend a lot of one-on-one time with you. If you're a business person, if you've got a board and card game shop, you're thinking about adding video games into your repertoire. One of the consultants that I'm doing that I just set up is it's with a company that's a gun shop, which is it'll be a real interesting one. I'll share with you next week after I have the call with them. But I went to their website. It's like fantastic. It's like something out of James Bond. Like, it's a high end. You come in and there's a shooting range inside the gun shop, but it's like really nice furniture and sitting rooms and like custom people, like personalized people bring out guns for you to look at. And, it's like a super high end gun store, not something that you'd walk into a strip mall that says guns with bars on the windows type of thing.
Right.
I feel like, like there's old Western guys in the back getting some really old, like 1800s whiskey out. They're having a shot of whiskey and they're looking through like the latest whatever. But anyway, they're interested in adding in video game centers into one of their business offerings. So those are the ones that I love doing, and that's what I do on a regular basis. But there's a lot of those right now. Like, it's more than it's ever been.
Part of it is some sort of a resurgence because of popularity of esports, or?
Yes, I think esports is putting it in the headlines of everybody. Like, there's not a day or week that goes by without a massive esports story. So-and-so company invests in this thing. These guys are building a new arena inside this college or university. I mean, it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's all about esports. But in the end, what esports is for a LAN center is what I've always said. It's purpose and events and things going on that they cannot do at home. And so it's It's perfect for what we're doing. And again, you and I are trying to get really, really good at referring to what we are as video game centers. We're not LAN centers. We're not cyber cafes. That's in some countries that's still a big thing, but I can tell you that the future is based on gaming, and the gaming future is based on statistics and challenges and contests and points and rewards and leaderboards, and that's what ggCircuit's all about. That's what the industry needs in their video game centers or esports arenas. So these guys, the big question I'll just quickly touch on for this week's question, but it's always how to get started, like step one. And one of the things that I really need to do a good job of, especially on my written blog, is I need to go back and pull out the stories I've done all the years and categorize them into the different stages of startup. Because step one, a lot of people are like, so I'm working really hard on my business plan and I'm kind of stuck. Like, what do I do next? Or somebody's like, okay, I've got an appointment to go see the bank next week to talk about getting a loan. What do I tell them? How do I get financials? Like, the biggest thing that I've always told people, especially the last few years, is you have to be realistic about your ability to raise the money to do this. That's the first thing. Before you do anything else, there's no mystical fountain of money out there that if you have a really good business plan, they're going to give you the money. You can't go in and say the right thing to a bank and have a bank give you money. Like, you need to have the money thing lined up ahead of time. You need to have somebody that it's probably somebody personal that is a business partner in something else. It could be a friend or a family member. Like, you've got to have somebody that's interested in you, trusts you, and will invest with you in your business and knows your business a little bit. That's the only thing that's going to get you started from scratch. Some people just already have money. You might be an existing business owner. Maybe you own Subway franchises. Maybe you own 3 or 4 of them and you've gone to the bank and borrowed against those, multiple times. If you've got the ability to go borrow money against something else of value, some other collateral, then that's another option for you. But, don't ever go so far down the path of thinking, this is my passion and my dream. I really want this to happen, because unless you have the ability to get the funding, somebody in some way of getting the funding, you're just going to be super disappointed after you put all this work into this plan that you're not going to ever get it done. I'm not going to tell anybody don't pursue your dreams, don't go after your passion, but go after it the right way. The first thing to do is to just start talking to as many people as you want and find somebody that says, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing a little more about that. That's your trigger then to jump in and start doing a bunch of research and putting together spreadsheets and building business plans and things once you've found that person that gives you that nod or that go ahead. So I just wanted to use that as today's little tidbit, because it's one of those things that we come up to even when we go into renovations. Like, I'm doing this in my store here. Sean and I have been in business forever. Banks still will not loan us money on our business. They'd be happy to loan us money if I put my house up. And we really tried this last time to not do that. We tried to not do a lot of personal guarantees and putting up personal property in order to do this renovation in our Terre Haute store. And eventually we found it was a very, very high-priced option. But it was an option for us because our businesses are so solid financially, cash flow every month. So between our 2 stores, in and out of our bank accounts, we'll have between $35,000 and $75,000 a month going through our bank account every month. And so they look at those numbers and they say, okay, sure, there's a lot of expenses, there's no profit, they're spending what they make, they're reinvesting what they make. But they know there's that much cash flow going into our business, and that's how we ended up getting the loan to do the renovations. So I always go after that first. That's what I tell everybody. So that's today's quick tip of the day. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, J-Mac, or questions, but.
Well, it was kind of like, when it's a small business, you very much try to bootstrap it as much as you possibly can. You try to be as cheap as you possibly can. But with this business, there's just no way to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
There's no way to do 5 PCs this month and hope you get enough business to get 5 more PCs next month. Unfortunately for us, unless we have the cash, you have to start with getting a loan, or finding someone is the problem. And the other thing too, and again, I never want to stamp out anybody's dreams either, but I've always been the fan of, is there a market for what
Right.
you want to do in your city? Can you find 100 people that will stop, at least stop into your store the first month, that type of thing too.
Right. And we've helped at eBash multiple people get stores running, and some of them have even franchised or partnered with us to use our name. And, again, not everybody, I mean, I say not everybody, very few people that it seems are capable of bootstrapping it and getting it done and figuring out how to survive.
Right.
So a lot of people have just asked me over the years, again, we've been in business 11 years and we've not made a profit, but at the same time, we've survived this long so that as opportunities have come along and we've been there to take advantage of them, and now we're building up momentum and getting more and more people interested in what we're doing. I can't even guarantee you if I'm helping you at your location build an eBash, a lot of it still comes down to you, the individual that's going to do it. It's not a Subway franchise industry. It is not absolutely a franchise industry where you can follow somebody else's lead and have any percentage guarantee of success. It's all going to come down to how hard you work and how resourceful you are at when a month comes up short. How do you find the money to pay the bills that month?
Yeah.
And all of us have done it different ways. I mean, I think of what you've done, personally, J-Mac, as we've opened up stores together and things, like we end up just finding ways. Like I'll go put my truck title up at different times when there's a project that I know in 3 months I'll go pay it off. But, like at that month, I needed the money to pay the $10,000 internet bill for Gen Con's convention fees. And I knew that 6 weeks later I would get paid back and I could go get the title back from my truck. But, what was I going to do? I had to be resourceful, and I wouldn't accept the fact of not taking that opportunity. Like I found a way to make it happen.
What would you say is a, I know it's constantly increasing, but what's a round number that people may need to get started?
Right. I always tell people, if you don't have the ability to go out and get $100,000, then you really don't have any business getting into it at that stage, because anything below $100,000 is going to leave you short in some area. And usually it ends up getting sacrificed on the number of systems for your store. And if you sacrifice that, you cap the amount of money you can make every month. So the famous thing everybody says is like, well, I've got $50,000 in my 401k. If it's about $1,000 a station, that should allow me to start with 50 stations. Well, then they get into it and they're like, well, I got to build the front counter, and I've got to buy a sign for the door, and I've got to do all these other things. And I forgot I have to buy a freezer and a refrigerator and chairs. And so then they end up only opening the store with 25 stations. And on Friday night, the best you could charge is maybe $20 or $30 for a seat on a Friday night. And if you only have 25 seats, that's the most you can make on Friday night. And that's your busiest night of the week, Friday and Saturday. Mm-hmm. So, who cares if you're 50% full on Tuesday when you have 25 stations? That's 12 people. What matters is how many people you can put in there on Friday and Saturday. That's where you make all your money. 90% of our business is made on Friday and Saturday every week. So the bigger your store is, the more money you can make in a month, because you could fit more people on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that's, if you start with less than $100,000, you're gonna start cutting things out that you need to do, and you're just gonna make it so that you can either not upgrade equipment, not buy more equipment later, not do good marketing. Like stuff's gonna get cut out of the picture, and a year later or 2 years later, you won't be able to pay the rent, and you'll just sit back and say, where did I go wrong in my formula? Where did I? Well, you just left it so that you couldn't make enough money to pay the bills. Like, it's not going to be grand opening forever. You're not going to be 100% full 7 nights a week. It's just not going to happen. Yep. All right. Let's jump into fun ggCircuit stuff.
Let's jump. Let's leap into it.
Let's jump. All right. Let's talk again about WANdemonium. So we're a week away, 10 days away from WANdemonium II. It's a change. We've gotten, I think I checked this morning, we got 6 confirmed in North America. My goal was 8. My happiness is at 12. My ecstatic bliss and glee is at 16 centers in North America. Dustin and I are kind of admitting North America. That's our goal. Talked to Ross this morning. I know Europe is in. The guys at Good Game are in. The guys at Elite are in. Andreas is in. I think Andreas at Escape Gaming's got a few other centers that are going to actually join ggCircuit to be a part of WANdemonium, which is exciting. So I think they'll have 8 in Europe. I know Sebastian and Purser are working hard down in South America. We've got the NVIDIA event this weekend. So I think we're going to have a pretty good showing for this first test of the new WANdemonium style. I'm pretty excited about it. Now that weekend, it'll be blurry. It'll be a rush. There'll be some hiccups getting people into brackets and making sure that everybody's got decent ping times to the Counter-Strike servers and all of those different things that we'll have to work through. But obviously, we just want to see numbers of support. That's what's going to matter to sponsors when we bring them ideas for WANdemonium 3 in 3 months, so that the prize pools increase, so that the prizes for the players increase, so that maybe some new games and things can be offered to centers as part of this plan. There's just a lot of cool things going on behind the scenes that we need good numbers for, so that we can follow these through and see these things through to fruition. So I'm super excited about it. Balls is an outstanding sponsor here in North America. They're shipping out a free case for every case that centers buy as a sponsorship thing, which is a $300 value. I mean, it's just a great thing that some of these people are getting involved with. And the centers here in North America, especially, I know, see the value in it.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk just real briefly about the format one more time? What's happening in WANdemonium? Because I know there's just a little confusion still around that with some of our centers.
Yeah, so the standard ggCircuit, system is an ongoing contest leaderboard challenge thing that runs year round. The WANdemonium event specifically is a weekend of mixed brackets, and all the brackets is each center can represent themselves with a team or a few players in the single player events, but it's just your center versus all the other centers in your region to find out who the most well-rounded center is. And the prize is simply a gigantic pot of ggCircuit coins that can be spent in the local center's prize vault on some cool things we'll talk about coming up that are launching later today or tomorrow. That's what the prize is for the players. We've never given coins away any other way than they've earned them through playing in the matches. So this is the first time we've ever given coins away as a big prize. So we're testing that whole model out. But think of it as the Olympics of video games between LAN centers. So your LAN center is a country. You're bringing your representatives to play for your country in the Olympics, and they're going to play in a couple different games. There's some athletes in the Olympics that play in multiple things, so you don't have to have different people in each sport. You may have one guy that's really good at CSGO that also plays League of Legends, that also plays Hearthstone, that also plays Rocket League. That's fine. The same guy could represent you in all 4 spots. The LAN center owners and employees can play. It's not a thing that's it's based on people paying an entry fee. We don't charge the players anything. The centers it's up to them if they want to charge the players or not. But your job is to field the best players in these esports events to represent your center. And it's a win or go home. One single elimination bracket. You win, you move on. Every game you win in a bracket earns your center points. So it's just like the Olympics with medal standings. You look at the Olympics and they count the golds, the bronze, the silvers, and they always keep track of who wins the most. The difference for us is in the Olympics, it's always like these giant countries that win because the U.S. sends 5,000 athletes. So, of course, we get a bronze in some weird off sport that keeps us up in the medal rankings. Mm-hmm. In this, it's just 4 games in North America, 3 games in South America, I think 3 games in Europe, maybe 4 in Europe. So it's just a few games. So even small centers can make sure that they field a team in each of these events.
Just a technical question for you.
Yep.
Are we, as ggCircuit admins, creating the tournament brackets for these countries, and then we're just working with the admins in those regions, correct?
Right. So in Europe, Andreas will manage the tournament brackets for Europe, and I think Ross is going to help Andreas as well. Most of you know Ross. He's quickly becoming the most integrated piece of ggCircuit as the guy that is working with the Texans, working with the centers, and working with the players, and he does everything. So Ross and Andreas, for example, will run the brackets all that weekend of WANdemonium for Europe because they're in that time zone. The matches will be scheduled. You'll have a Friday night match. I think Andreas said they're going to do Thursday night, Friday night, and then Sunday for the 3 days of WANdemonium in Europe. So each of those nights, there'll be a start time. Your team will sit down. Again, it doesn't take a lot of space. For Counter-Strike, you just have 5 players represent your store. So those 5 players will sit down. They'll join the server. They'll be matched up against their opponent in the brackets, and they'll play their best of. Let's see, Counter-Strikes, you got to win 16 rounds to win a Counter-Strike map. And once they're done, the losing team's out, the winning team advances to the next round, and they play the winner from the other side of the bracket. So it's a very, very straightforward process that will be easy for the centers to participate in. They don't have to do any administrating. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to schedule more staff to run it. You just have to make sure that they're able to communicate with Ross and Andreas, that are running the brackets there in Europe. So it'll either be, we're flexible. It could be through Skype. It could be through Facebook Messenger. It could be through WhatsApp. I mean, doesn't matter how your center communicates with those guys, as long as it's something that's convenient for you, or what you guys use at the store.
What was the new one called that we're looking at? The new Skype type thing for video gaming?
Slack?
No.
Discord.
Discord, yeah.
Yeah. So we've started monkeying around a little bit with Discord and checking out the API for it and seeing if it'll work as the communication source for all of ggCircuit. But yeah, it's not as big of a thing as people may think it is. That's where I really wish everybody would just jump in and participate, because the center fee's only $100. It's 100 euros in Europe. It's even less. I think it's only $30 maybe in South America to participate. The winning centers win that money back. We're not keeping any of that money. And it's a fun weekend event for your center to kind of rally together. It's no longer, them versus random people online. It's them versus specific people from another center in your region of the world, and your continent, basically.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yep. All right, let's talk just real quickly. We'll touch on Season 5. Next week, we'll hopefully be running some preseason scripts and code the week before season starts. So JMac's been working his butt off, moving everything over to one site. So everybody knows, like, if you go to www.ggcircuit.com, you're on the public view of the site, and when you log in, you're on stats.ggcircuit.com. All of that's merging into one site, and probably by the time most of you view this video over the next few days, that may already be done. So one of the things that JMac just did is move the leaderboards over and rework them. And that's going to become one of the things that we really focus on, is week after week, there'll be a fixed metric that everybody tries to get. So it's no longer just a race to the most amount of coins. The skill race every week is to find the 5 best players in each of these titles that we support in ranked games for your stores. So we're going to try to automate that so that there's coin rewards for those winners every week at your store, and there's actually some sort of prize every week that you don't have to give out, like the system will automatically hand that out for you. And that's the basis of Season 5, and the future seasons will be that same formula. So players play and they do the best they can, and their best 5 games creates their score for the week. And all week long, they can try to make that go up. It'll never go down. Like if you have a bad game, it's thrown out. But if you have a better game, your overall score will go up. And I think right away, it'll make a lot more sense to people to see on, the sidebar screens in your software, on the sliders up on the wall, on the leaderboards on your website, anywhere that we show the stats. It'll become a better metric for people, not just who plays the most. That's still going to be there, because obviously there's some guys that are ridiculously talented and put a ton of time into making the all-time leaderboard or the monthly leaderboards, and we still like those. Those are not going anywhere. But, it's very easy to see the breakdown when you see the first 10 or 20 of those. And then after that level, all the normal people, which are hundreds of thousands of players, are all in a different level than those top players that are really putting the most time in.
Absolutely. And again, it's going to be the top 5 players at that center. So, even though you're always in the running, it's not going to be the same 5 players every time.
Right.
So you may move up and down in the standings. It may be a different 5 one week and a different 5 the next week. So don't feel.
I could change on a Thursday.
Yeah. Don't feel like we're reaching out.
It could change anytime.
Don't feel like we're reaching out to the owners and say only give us your 5 best players. Everybody is eligible to win. Everybody is eligible to help their center. So nothing changes.
Yep. And so for the season, it will be your top 15 players, because you'll be able to play in 3 games, which are our 3 synchronized games. So League of Legends, Smite, and Dota 2. You don't have to have players in all of them, but we'll allow you to score 15 players. So that way, if you've got players in each of those games, it'll represent players from each of those games. So, in South America, Dota 2 is big. So it could be that their centers are made up of 15 Dota 2 players because that's the best players from their center, and that's their top 15 scores. Some centers may have a nice balance. You may have some good Dota 2, some good Smite, some good League of Legends players, and maybe those things are balanced between all those different games. But the season specifically will be made up of the top 15 players from your store, but every week there'll be a leaderboard that shows the top players from your store in each of those games. And that's what we want those players to start thinking about.
I can't wait till we have like enough supported games that we can kind of have like a decathlon or something like that where everybody has to be multidisciplinary into multiple games.
Yeah, the nice thing is that, for season 6, we're always planning 1 or 2 seasons ahead, especially now that we've got a great relationship with a lot of game publishers and developers. So season 6, for example, we're already in talks with game developers and publishers that would like to see their game be a part of season 6 for ggCircuit. And, again, then we can go to them and say, great, here's what we need. We need support for prizes. We need support for API integration to get the stats out. We need you to provide us marketing material. We want you to promote this through all of your social media channels so your regular players go to a LAN center to be able to participate in the next season of the circuit. So, there's this big symbiotic circle that we want to get started. That is, players and centers and ggCircuit and publishers that kind of go around and around and around, and everybody scratches everybody's back. Just like at camp, you remember that thing we used to do, JMac, where we would huddle up 15 people in a circle, and you would stand in a circle right in front of each other, and then everybody would try to sit down on the legs of the person behind them in a circle.
Right.
And if you do it perfectly, then everybody around the circle is sitting on each other's legs and using their legs to hold up the person in front of them. But it never works. Like that's the fun of that game when you're doing a youth group exercise, is that there's one weak link and usually then the whole circle collapses all the way around. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we do that with all of our partners in this chain. It is, if I had some Lion King music, it would be the circle of life playing right now.
It's an esports trust fall.
It is an esports trust fall. That's a good analogy. All right, let's talk about the super fun stuff. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Go for it. You want to take the lead?
Okay, so we have been teasing this key system for weeks and weeks and weeks, and hopefully today, we will be adding keys for the game Moving Hazard into the global prize vault. So Moving Hazard is an FPS game, and it takes place 50
like
years,
the zombie apocalypse,
50
right?
years after the zombie apocalypse. I'm pulling up a graphic for it now, where you can weaponize zombies to work for you. And I took a quick look at it on Steam. It's getting some very positive reviews there. So we will have this available into the prize vault. So how it works is just like a normal prize redemption. Your players are going to have to come to the counter and request the Moving Hazard key. You will do a prize redemption for them. They must have a valid email address in the ggCircuit system, so they need to be at least a silver member. And once you redeem that prize for that player, the key goes directly to their email address, and they'll be able to take that to Steam and enter that key and get a full version of Moving Hazard. So we will be posting some different things when it's actually in the prize vault, but it's coming very, very soon.
Right, and a couple things I want to touch on. We don't have a lot, like this is a test. This is a test of it to see, we have to prove that we have players that are willing and able to buy these games with their coins. And a lot of players I know are sitting on a lot of coins out there, waiting on something big like this to come along. The more of these that we can sell, I don't want to put 1,000 of them in, even if they gave us 1,000. I mean, they're not going to probably give us 1,000 of these because these are full copies of the game. Like these are, it's going to unlock it on their Steam account forever. So this game is in early access. It's I'm sure will be I don't know what the price will be. Right now, I think it's $20, but I think down the road, the price of it will probably be 30 or 40 or $50 when it's in full release. But this will give you the copy of the game, and you'll be able to keep all of your stats and everything, and you'll own the full game when it's out in full release as well. So this is a really unique thing. We're going to try to release them a few at a time. We're going to do 10 at a time, different times of the day, so that way it gives the centers all around the world a chance to have their players redeem it. Because if we just did it late at night in North America, poor Mark Carter and all of his players over at Guff are all in bed. Their store's not even open. So we can't put the keys all available at one time at a time that's not convenient for everybody. So we're going to do 10 at a time. They're 10,000 coins. So it's first come, first served. There'll be 10 in there. When they're gone, you'll just have to wait, and then we'll release another 10 of them at a different time that day or a different time period the next day until they're all gone. And I don't think it's a secret. We can just share with everybody. We've got 50 keys to give away, so we'll do that 5 times. So we'll see, how those things go in the prize vault, and we'll see how they're redeemed around the world.
Yeah.
I'm super excited because this is like the tip of the iceberg for what's available. And again, it's not always about the players. So most of our viewers of this show are center owners, and this is how we communicate with a lot of center owners. But this company, for example, in addition to the 50 keys to give away, gave us 100 keys that we can use to give centers copies of the game for free. And what we're going to do with that, not only that, but through one of our partners, we're going to give out some other keys, but we're going to be able to divvy those keys up through our license management system that's going to hand those keys out to centers as their players launch the game in their stores. So, again, we're not secret about what's going on behind the scenes, but at the same time, we've got a lot of cool things we're lining up so that when May comes around, there's going to be a lot of big stuff to talk about every week on our show.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because throughout this show, I've been kind of making little notes, and I just put up a piece of text that says why ggCircuit, and I'm looking at all these different things. And number one, in regards to WANdemonium, we have a ball sponsorship where a center can order cases of balls and get the equal cases of balls for free from our sponsor up to a certain number. So that's free product that you're selling in your store. We just announced that we're giving game keys away to your players. Free to you. You don't have to purchase anything. You're saving money because we're going to be giving you licenses to the game to put in your own store. Whether it's a popular game or not, who cares? You
Right.
don't have to buy it. Which is the second time where we've been providing game keys to your players. The first one was Armored Warfare quite a while ago. We've talked about WANdemonium. We've talked about this NVIDIA Peru event. We've talked about just ongoing competition. But
Right, the season's a big one. We have a lot of big sponsors for the season.
Right.
So Alienware, like it's almost $10,000 worth of prizes for the season that again cost the centers nothing.
Again, ongoing specialized events with sponsored prizes that come directly to you, no cost to you, or very little cost to you to be involved, depending on the event. This WANdemonium stuff, you may receive money if your center may receive money if you're a winning center. So that's even more incentive to be involved with ggCircuit. And then obviously the overall 24-hour LAN party, 7 days a week, 365 incentives for your players to play at your center and play ggCircuit supported games to win prizes, to redeem prizes if that's something you have available at your center. So
another big benefit, JMac, and I think we kind of overlook this, is that we have a really good community of center owners that, they're not afraid to just throw out questions for help on things that have nothing to do with ggCircuit, and everybody helps each other.
Yeah.
So I think that, just watching other companies that are in this marketplace, all of us, especially as the staff, are easily available. I don't know that anybody's ever credited us with that, but I just want to credit our team with just being amazing as far as getting back to people immediately, and letting them know, hey, we hear you. We see there's a problem. You want us to fix it. Let's take a look at it. And then the next day the thing's fixed. I don't think the centers a lot of times give some of us credit, not myself, but, whether it's Ross, whether it's, even some of the other centers that help each other. It may be like, hey, I just put this prize in. How do I do it? Another center may jump in and answer that question. It's just great to have a bunch of us working together towards the same goal. Like
Right.
we want all of us to survive. I want every one of our centers to survive and thrive over the next year or two as a group, as part of our big group.
Yeah. Kumbaya. All right.
Yep.
So I will see you next week, and unless you got anything else.
Nope. I think that's good. I mean, we usually do a parting tidbit, but I think the what is ggCircuit was a definitely a good parting tidbit, because it's one of those things that we don't quantify enough. We don't, we spend too much time saying, what is ggCircuit? Well, it's a prize redemption thing. It's a stat tracker. It's esports. It's all these other things. But there's so much more value beyond what people might see when they go to the website and look us up.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what a lot of people miss. And those new guys that are thinking about starting a centers, that have talked to me, that have watched all of our videos, not that I'm a cult leader or anything, but they've drank the Kool-Aid. They understand what we're trying to do. They like the vision. They like the objective. They like the future of ggCircuit working for all of the centers as one voice in the community. I think that they understand that, and we need more of the centers to buy into that and start jumping in and getting on board with these things that, maybe a little bit of extra work for you to jump in and do the WANdemonium. It's not a lot of extra work, but if you don't do those things, sure, you have an easy, nice weekend. If you do those things, then we all might have a lot more success down the road. Like, just don't be afraid to jump in. We're not going to ask you ever to put $5,000 into a pot to do something,
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. We'll talk to
Just
you
do
next
it.
week.
Sounds good.